Welcome to my Feast Red Mage guide for patch 5.3. Red Mage in the current meta is a burst damage job with strong supportive skills. It's a decent pick for solo queue if you can master the job. To start, add also must pick additional skill. It reduces your enemy damage by a massive 40%. The best way to use it is on incoming burst damage and countering the enemy's buffs and debuffs. For example, if the enemy monk uses a debuff like Feint or a buff like Riddle Fire, use Addle to nerf them. Linked below will be a document of all buffs and debuffs to look for. You can make a macro so you can addle an enemy without having to switch targets as well. The second addition I highly recommend is Mana Ward. You can use it in two ways. The most common way is to use it right before the enemy team is about to swap to you. Having an extra little shield allows your team to react faster to keep you alive easier. The second way you can use it is to make yourself safe before going in for a melee combo. Only do this if you know it's possible for them to counterburst you. Keep track of their strongest actions, like Feint, Phantom Dart, and Tank Stun. This guide will be focused on Red Mage gameplay. My caster guide goes through every ability on Red Mage one by one if you need more beginner help. So let's talk about defense first. Dying on Red Mage is a big disadvantage to you. You start back at 0 gauge and have to spend 10 to 15 seconds to rebuild into a melee combo. This is why it's important for you to understand how to position and react to burst properly. An easy way to spot that the enemy team is about to go for you is to look for the enemy's DPS and tanks. If you're at a range, that forces the enemy team to push towards you. You can also be looking at if any characters are switching targets to you. At this moment, you should be prepared to use walls, run, or mitigate incoming damage. If the enemy team burst is not coordinated well, using displacement as soon as someone steps in your range is very powerful. Not only will it bind them, it'll also make you out of range from the ranged DPS. The ultimate mitigation is not being hit. If you get bound and unable to use displacement, use engagement to apply shields to yourself and use potions to keep yourself healed. Potions are stronger the lower your HP is. You can also use your gap closer defensively to escape by dashing towards someone who is far away from the people who are attacking you. This is mostly powerful when there's no places to kite or if you push towards your base. Procure on yourself for burst is very situational. If you have dual cast prep, it can be fine as your global heal, then use off global cooldowns for engagement and potions. Hard casting Procure on yourself for burst is rare, but it can be used for when you are pressured and stalling until your team is being offensive again. Using Procure when your teammates are being bursted is very strong. Make sure it's not during countdowns because you are DPS first. Using Bind and Heavy for your teammates is also very strong, especially when you're leading or at ends of matches. Red Mage is all about knowing when to go in and out of position. You're at your most powerful when Phantom Dart and Burst is ready. If a call is made and you do not have any defensive or offensive actions, do not always go for it. You can ping hello in quick chat when you're ready to signify that you have Phantom Dart Burst ready. It's all about working with your team. Now let's talk about offense. At the start of the match, cast Procure 2 seconds before the gate opens. This will give you a dual cast so you can start the match with an insta cast on the first encounter with the enemy. Use your AoE spell Impact if you can hit 2 or more enemies. If you can only hit 1, use a spell to gain black or white mana. Keep this in mind the entire match while building your gauges. Try to keep them even and take advantage of scatter and impact fast building. Also at the start of matches, if a melee does an early countdown before I have enough gauge for big bursts, I will consider Phantom Darting if the kill potential is there. This will also kill enemy defensive cooldowns early. If your team all uses their offensive abilities, there is a chance to kill early on like that. The reason why this is okay for Red Mage is because if you do an early burst with little to no gauge, Dart will be back when you do have burst ready. If you're at 25 mana during the countdown, you can consider using Reprise on the burst, but you only want to do that if the chance to kill is there. Do not use Phantom Dart into big cooldowns like Protect and Intervention. Again, the list will be down below in the description. You also want to try and keep Phantom Dart lined up with your Tank Stun, since they are both 30-second cooldowns. Here are some Red Mage burst options. If you are already close to the target, the strongest thing you could do is Embolden, Phantom Dart, or Holy/Flare, Displacement, Scorch, and then Double Weave Corpse into engagement. If the target's low, you can try and execute with Enchanted Reprise. If the target's in kill potential for pressure, you can try and start up a new melee combo if you have gauge for it. The next burst is if you are far away from the target. You can use Embolden, into Phantom Dart, into Holy or Flare, Double Weep Corpse and engagement, use Scorch, then Displacement. Same thing, if you can execute with Reprise, feel free, or just continue building until you have your next burst. If a countdown is called on someone with a defensive cooldown, Using your melee combo into it is totally fine. Just make sure you use your real burst combo after the cooldown wears off. You can also still build gauge in between melee strikes. Do this especially if Phantom Dart is not ready to line up your timers. You have 50 seconds to do the following melee combo before the proc drops. If a countdown is called during your defensive cooldown while you have Holy and Flare ready, you can still stall, but you can only cast for Cure, Scatter, and Impact. Things will not always line up perfectly. You may have to use Holy or Flare just so it doesn't drop, which will force you to do an alternate burst like Phantom Dart, into Scourge, into melee combo. There will be moments where wide openings are present and you do not have time to go through your melee combo for big bursts. You have to be the judge of that, because Phantom Darting the melee combo during an opening is better than building to big bursts and allowing the enemies to have cooldowns ready. This is especially important to know when there's culling time. Do what it takes to kill. For casted limit break, make sure you have gauge and if possible, Phantom Dart ready before you use it. You want to take advantage of the vulnerability. Use Displacement Bind to land it on a target or single with your teammates' CC. Thank you for watching, and I also made a Red Mage Frontlines guide with this video. If you learned anything or enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to leave any comments on this video, I respond and I read all. If you want to support my YouTube videos, I made a Patreon this month to keep the videos coming. Thank you very much.